In Activity 4, How We Hear Sounds, students exaggerate the shape and function of the outer ear by making an ear trumpet. Students first study a diagram of the human ear and then identify the parts of the ear and their functions. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 4, black construction paper, masking tape, and diagram of the ear transparency. You will also need to provide plain paper, pencils, scissors, metal spoons, hammer, and paper towels. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 4 for each student. Each team of 2 will need 2 sheets of construction paper, a pencil or pen, a sheet of plain paper, and access to the masking tape and scissors. To begin the activity, say something very softly to the students. Then, in a normal voice, ask, "Who could hear what I said?" Probably only the students in the front row could hear. Next, ask students to cup their hands behind their ears. Repeat your softly spoken words. In a normal tone of voice, ask, "Who could hear me that time?" More students probably could hear you that time. Ask students, "Why do you think more of you could hear me the second time?" The students should realize that cupping their hands behind their ears help them to hear better. Next, give each team of 2 a pencil and a sheet of plain paper, and give each student a sheet of construction paper. Instruct students to roll the sheet of construction paper into a cone. One end should be as wide as possible, and the other end should be narrow enough to fit into the outer ear. Provide tape to fasten the cones and label the cones with masking tape. Have one student close his or her eyes and listen. Tell the other student to stand about 1 meter away and write his or her name on the paper with the pencil. Ask the listening student, "What did you hear?" The student will probably have heard a faint scratching sound. Have the listening student, eyes still closed, hold the narrow end of the cone to his or her ear. Point the wide end toward the other student. Make sure students do not stick the pointed end of the cone into their ear canal. It should rest just outside the outer ear. Instruct them to listen again to the sound of the writing, and ask students, "What difference did you notice?" The scratching should have sounded louder. Have the students reverse positions and repeat the procedure. Encourage the students to listen to other sounds with and without the cone, such as a snapping of fingers or softly spoken word. Next, ask students, "What difference did you notice when you listened to sounds with and without the cone?" Sounds seemed louder with the cone. Then ask, "Why do you think the sound seemed louder when you listened with the cone to your ear?" Some may infer that the cone collects sound waves better than the ear alone. Next, lead students to observe that certain animals, such as dogs, elephants, rabbits, and so on, all have large ears. Ask, "What purpose do you think their large ears serve?" The students should recognize that they help to capture more sounds than smaller ears. Point out that these animals can lift and turn their ears to pick up softer and more distant sounds. Many animals can also turn their ears toward the source of a sound without turning their heads. Then, ask students, "Do you see any similarity in shape between their ears and your cones?" Most will agree that their ears are somewhat cone-shaped. Because of their shape, animals' ears pick up more sound wave vibrations in the air and direct those vibrations inward toward their ear holes in the animals' heads. The ability to hear the sounds of danger alerts these animals and helps them stay alive. Next, explain that the part of the ear they can see is called the outer ear. Point out that it is shaped somewhat like a shallow cone or a funnel. Ask students, "What do you think the function of the outer ear is?" The outer ear collects sound waves. Go on to explain that the ear canal is a passageway for sound waves from the outer ear to the eardrum. Behind the eardrum are 2 other sections of the ear, called the middle ear and the inner ear. Display the diagram of the ear. Point to the outer ear, the ear canal, and the eardrum. Explain that sound waves that come through the opening in the ear pass along the ear canal and hit the eardrum, which is like a very thin skin or membrane. Next, tell the students that the eardrum separates the outer ear from the middle ear. Point out the tube that leads from the middle ear to the throat. Ask students, have you ever felt your ears pop? The students may mention going up or down in an airplane or elevator or riding in a car up or down a mountain. Air pressure changes fast when we go rapidly up or down. The rush of air into or out of the middle ear equalizes the air pressure on both sides of the eardrum. Explain that our ears pop so that the air pressure in the middle ear and the outer ear will be the same. Identify the rest of the structures of the ear, including the bones of the middle and inner ear, and the nerve connecting the inner ear. Explain that when sound waves reach the eardrum, the vibrating air causes the eardrum to vibrate. The vibrations from the eardrum are transferred to small bones in the middle ear, and then to liquid in the inner ear. Vibrations in the liquid are changed into impulses that travel along the nerves to the brain. The brain then interprets those messages as sounds. Finally, give each student a copy of Activity Sheet 4. Instruct the students to label the parts of the ear and to match the parts of the ear with their functions. To conclude the activity, the students may take their cones home or recycle the construction paper. Have them recycle the plain paper and return the pencils to their storage place. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.